Quick, Wes, give me 5 pounds. Let's change clothes.
All right. I'd actually take your shirt off, and we'll get kicked off of the for breaking the standards of
Oh,
most
God.
streaming.
Oh, you showed like an inch of one nipple? You must be forsaken forever. So, hi everyone. Welcome to what has turned out to be a very busy and strangely productive movie review week. This is gonna be Wes and Muha, but Muha only got like 4 hours sleep last night, so me and Wes, always happy to have you, buddy. Thank you for coming back. To check out Enola Holmes, because we both needed a break from darkness.
Right? Something light and happy, and man, parts of that were light and happy.
Yeah, I mean, parts were almost a little too relevant, but other parts were like,
Right?
yeah. But on the whole, like, this is a really goddamn charming movie. And I actually
Indeed.
really liked it.
It's got a nice Holmesy feel.
Oh, fuck off. Hey. Yeah, no, like, as far as like the kind of movie this is was like clearly aimed at like young teenage girls kind of thing. For like a very established property, like, Sherlock Holmes, here is his sister. Yeah, not the one from the Sherlock season we don't talk about. And it's making like this fun, very British kind of Fleabag-esque adventure movie. It worked pretty well.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
A good way to spend a couple hours. I was surprised that it's just over 2 hours long.
And that it was like dragged on, or that it was putting a pretty even clip.
I don't know. Like, honestly, going in, I was surprised when I hit play and looked down and saw 2 hours and 4 minutes, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be longer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting it to be like a simple hour and a half. It's like, oh, okay, I guess this is going to be more of a commitment than I thought it was going to be, but okay.
Yep.
So for those who don't know, this is a movie starring Millie Bobby Brown, who plays, of course, Enola Holmes, who is doing a role that does not require her basically to dramatically look up at stuff for the majority of her screen time.
It's true.
Or stare intensely downwards at something for a
Right?
time, which basically describes her role in Godzilla and Stranger Things, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, like, she's very vibrant. She has a lot of personality. She's very quirky. She breaks the fourth wall a lot, which doesn't always work. But for the most, it worked more than it didn't for me. There were some parts that was kind of like, you didn't really need that, and like, okay, that's kind of egregious, but like, okay, fine, whatever. It's this isn't meant to be taken all that seriously. So it's fine. She's the younger sister to her mom, who is played by Helena Bonham Carter, which has to be just one of the easiest checks she's ever cashed in her life, because she maybe has like 5 lines of dialogue in this entire movie.
Yeah, not a lot of lines.
Meanwhile, like, she goes missing one day, and her brothers, Mycroft and Sherlock, played by Henry Cavill, come in, just kind of sort stuff out, and then she runs away to go look for her mom somewhere in London, and then another mystery comes up, and oh no, are the mysteries related? What do you think? Kind of that kind of thing. But yeah, like, for a pretty straightforward structure, and not the most complex mystery in the world, I kind of figured out who the main villain was the minute she spoke. Or at least the minute she had like of her own outside of other characters, like, oh, okay, this is clearly the villain. The parts that it does do well, the parts where it kind of ties back into modern socioeconomic politics, is kind of like, oh, okay, I wasn't really expecting that.
But it makes sense when you consider like the time period they chose to set it in. I'm like, yeah, that lines up right with that period in British history.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people know this one from that line that has been making rounds on the internet for a little bit here, when Sherlock visits a character I won't spoil, and basically like, politics bore me, and this woman who's black just says like, well, yeah, it's because you live in a society that's always favored you or suits you.
Exactly. Yep.
So I was like, oh, okay. And there are a few moments like that where they do kind of pick apart like the modern politics of things and just how history kind of repeats itself and these weird cycles. And the only thing that happens is if you become Helena Bonham Carter and you make bombs. No. Is if you do kind of like stand up for what you believe in and push back and all that stuff. And that's a good lesson to teach the younger generation, especially like teenage girls. So I was like, okay, good message. I like the characters. I like the plot. For a movie of its caliber, actually, outside of like the fourth wall break stuff, which kind of hit and miss, I honestly don't have that many complaints about this movie. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a couple of things here and there that jumped out at me as being like, that was a little frustrating. But they actually managed to come back around to fix a fair number of them.
Like what?
So one of the key ones that was, there is a moment early on where Enola and Sherlock are talking, and Sherlock shares this memory he has of Enola as a young girl having a pine cone that she's done up to look like a small dog that she tied a piece of yarn to and pulled all over the house with her. And she, seemingly embarrassed by this, but also seems to have no memory of it.
Mm-hmm.
Later in the movie, Sherlock has found and gives her the pine cone that looks, is done up to look like this, small dog. Mm-hmm. And it's a very emotional moment for her. And I'm just like, a week ago, you couldn't remember who this was. Like, why is this such an emotional thing? They did come back around, and near the end of it, there is another scene in which another character, I won't spoil who, points out that she thought that Enola had forgotten the pinecone dog.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so at least they acknowledge that, this is something that apparently she had forgotten. But I'm like, emotional triggers only work if they have emotional connections.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
But overall, that and the fact that the creepy bad guy, the henchman throughout most of it, was definitely in the warehouse when it exploded with a bunch of fireworks. And we see him later, and he's like, fine.
We're getting into slight spoiler territory here, by the way, guys. So if you don't want anything, I do recommend it. It is a fun little romp. It's a nice distraction for 2 hours. Nothing deep, nothing nothing ultra complex, nothing I'm gonna like rewatch time and time again. But for the time I spent with it, I'm glad I did.
Sure.
Yeah. So with that said, let's talk spoilers. So anything goes. So yeah, the Bowler Man definitely died twice in this movie before he actually dies.
Right? Like, I mean,
because the first time they just call him Bowler Hat. I think that's his character name in the movie.
I think so. And I mean, I think it would have been really cool to have him show like if he'd shown up at the end and like still wearing the bowler and the coat and all, but like totally wrapped up with like burn scars underneath.
Yeah, cool.
I think that would have given him some menace and would have made him even like spookier and more awesome.
But no, he shows up. He's perfectly fine. No scars. No sign of anything gone wrong. He's like, well, you tried to blow me up, and I kind of did, but I had an extra life. I don't know.
Right? In truth, that's his twin brother, Derby Man, but we didn't realize it.
Oh, shit. Twist. But then, like, towards the end of the movie, when they're having, like, the final showdown, there's a part where she finally gets, like, her jujitsu move right, and he trips him, and he slams his head, like, right on this, like, pine cone-looking thing, like, hard. Like, right
in the temple.
Right in the temple. And he does, like, that wide-eye thing they always make when somebody for sure just died. Then I don't know if
and then she has a conversation with him.
And then a conversation over there, like, we were both like, oh, he's for sure dead. And then he's still breathing. The next scene was like, was there a producer note there that said this is a little dark? We need to
reveal who he's working for before who he's working for walks in 5 seconds later.
Yeah. And the minute she, like, the old granny, the minute she said a monologue about how, oh, they just don't understand our ways, I was like, okay, the boomer is the villain. The boomer is the villain. It ties thematically. It works. The boomer is the villain.
Checks out.
And yeah, I was right. But for what it was, like, there's still a good enough mystery elements on. Although you kind of made a good point while we were watching it that they did kind of reveal what the mystery was before you actually had time to process it.
Yeah, it's one of these things where like the way the scene is shot, you definitely aren't given the clues, and then the character will be like, "Aha! I figured out because of this and this and this," and that's when they show you the clues. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's cool that you're doing that, but it doesn't give the audience any chance to try and be like, oh, I'm as good as Sherlock, which, in my opinion, all the best Sherlock and mystery genre for that factor gives you that chance to be even like 3 seconds ahead of the narrative.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That was always my favorite thing about mystery movies, too. It's one reason I love Knives Out as much as I did.
Oh, yeah. Of course, I'll also say that it's way better for them to do what they've done in Enola Holmes than to make the mistake of, like, in The Village with M. Night Shyamalan, where, like, I think it's 90 seconds into the movie, you see that the tombstones don't have dates. And, like, that's totally glossed over. No one notes it or anything. But me and a number of people in my family, every time, like, we've watched it with, like, no dates, it's modern day. And being able to call it an hour early is way worse than not having the chance to call it.
That is fair. But Sherlock Holmes is always kind of that tricky relationship, at least in modern media, about like when you reveal the clues and when you hold back. Honestly enough, like Knives Out probably is the best Sherlock Holmes movie in the last decade. Just in how it structures characters. Because like I've loved the BBC Sherlock show, but goddamn if you could guess anything that was going to happen before they actually revealed everything. But not like in a fun way.
Yeah, no.
It's more like
Elementary does a much better job as far as a Sherlock story.
I never watched Elementary. I think that was one of those shows I tried watching. I just could not get into it. Mostly because I was like, I did not like the actor who played Sherlock. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was better.
I agree. The actor of Sherlock is not great, but Lucy Liu in it is amazing.
How so? Because I've heard mixed things about Lucy Liu in that show.
So she plays Watson.
Yeah.
As you're hopefully familiar.
Yeah.
And she's the best take on Watson I've seen, in that rather than being a humanizing element to balance out the quirkiness of Sherlock, she instead plays it very much as someone assigned and hired to take care of Sherlock shit, and that she's done with his shit and calls him on it constantly.
Okay, I can see that.
And it's great. It's a very refreshing take on the character.
I can see that. All right, yeah. And then, of course, you have the Robert Downey Jr. movies.
True, which are wonderful action movies.
Yeah, they're not Sherlock Holmes movies.
No.
Now, granted, I like those movies. I think the Mycroft in the second one is probably one of the best Mycrofts I've personally seen.
Sure, definitely.
But it's not a very good mystery movie.
No, it does address better than Elementary or Sherlock in the regards of in the books. Among many other things, Sherlock is like a top-notch fighter.
Yeah.
And so the Robert Downey Jr. ones actually go into that and do some cool stuff with that. And it's like, yeah.
It's like everyone's favorite part of those movies, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
As absurd as they were, everyone is like, yeah, this is dumb, but I love it.
Right?
Even when they have like the weird psychic battle at the end in the second one, where it's like, oh, this is stupid. I love it. I want more. They're having a psychic battle. But anyway, the general point is like Sherlock Holmes, as much as they are traditional, like supposed to be like traditional mystery movies, books, TV, whatever, definitely there's flexibility in how you tell that story for different audiences. And this one definitely feels like it's tailored for that young adult audience, which isn't a bad thing by stretching the imagination.
No.
Could it be done better to emphasize the mystery parts a bit? Yeah. But I think it focuses on what it needs to focus on, which is establish a strong main character, establish a proper tone that is both part of and separate from previously established Sherlock media, and just kind of carve its own identity out of it, which I feel like this movie does.
Definitely. It also hits a major key audience right now of the not quite adults, but definitely not kids anymore, like
Yeah.
that age range. We've gotten some pretty cool kids movies since everything shut down and pandemic happened. And there have been some kind of cool action movies that have come out, but it's like among everybody who's trapped at home,
Yeah, young
those
adults.
teenagers need some love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think it's an often pander to demographic whenever they do get media. Like, it always comes like, this is what you kids like, right? So it's kind of always nice to see one that kind of takes them more seriously,
Yep.
and takes what they believe seriously, which is I think I do appreciate about this movies, because like a lot of people like in the generation in front of like behind us, not behind us, it wouldn't be behind us or in front of us, but whatever, the generation that
The next generation after us.
yes, the next generation after us, and is like are definitely more politically active more than we were in the millennial age.
Yep.
For obvious fucking reasons. And it's nice to hear that being in a film that is tailored for that audience. Because I've had these discussions before. It's like I'm a big believer, especially like in kids media or stuff like that. It's like, don't treat them like they're stupid. Some of them absolutely are,
No.
but for the most part, they're capable of grasping more than you give them credit for. And it's just nice to see
Absolutely.
that it's respected. Yeah. So overall, I really like to respect this movie. I think they want to make more of these. I hope they do. I'd be curious to see where they go with this. I think you could have a fun little sister franchise out of it.
Yeah, no, I would totally watch a sequel, which it does set up to kind of, it could have sequels. They also wrapped it up neat enough that if it sits alone, it's fine.
Yeah, but like I feel like especially now Netflix is definitely like, can we get a franchise? Please give us a franchise. Give us something. Something.
Right? They need something that House of Mouse doesn't control.
Or WB, now they're trying to replace Harry Potter.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about just a wave of just ruined young adults, like ruined adults.
Like, yeah. I very rarely, I would probably say never 4 years ago, but it's amazing how often it's happened in the last 4 years, where it's like, hey, here's a really easy way to not make yourself appear a horrible person. And then they double down.
I know. And then they whine about cancel culture.
Oh my God.
And it's always
right.
It's always those people. Oh God.
Yep.
So do you got anything else to add about Enola Holmes?
I really liked their take on Sherlock.
Yes.
I thought that their take on Mycroft was horrible.
Mycroft is just an asshole in this movie.
He's a horrible person, like the whole way through.
Unrepentant asshole.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. I actually liked Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes. I thought he was like, okay, all right, I see what he's going for.
Right? Kind of nifty to see him in a role through Netflix where his key phrases are not and fuck.
That being said, he looks like he's ready to just burst out of that jacket at any given time.
Oh, absolutely.
But we got to talk about the real debate here about this movie. Is Sherlock too emotional?
Ooh.
The real thing. That's still.
Yeah, I love it. There's a lawsuit. Like, somebody out there is suing Netflix about making Sherlock too emotional. I haven't looked into this yet. I just saw a glimpse of a thing for it, and I guess like maybe it could have a leg to stand on if the people who are doing the lawsuit is like the trust of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Yeah. So it's like, all right, these people are connected back to the author. Yeah, maybe they could argue for the quality of Sherlock, but otherwise,
yeah.
No.
Isn't Sherlock Holmes a public domain character at this point, though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it feels like that would be, even if they did represent his estate, I feel like it'd still be a moot point. And even then, how do you prove that in court?
Right?
It's too emotional.
Yeah, and I mean his performance. It was. It might be among Cavill's most emotional performances. Because let's be real, in The Witcher, he does not get very emotional.
True. I'm also like, wow.
As Superman, I mean, kind of, but nowhere near as emotional as other Supermen we've seen.
Snyder's Superman is much more. A lot of people just died. That's a bummer. All right, I'm gonna fly away.
Right? Like, he does stoic really well.
I'm
so.
I mean, he's the guy who literally made shotgun, like basically made a sound effect out of pumping his fist like a shotgun shell, which is still like one of my all time favorite things ever. If you go back
fantastic.
if you go back and like watch all the videos like up to in the year that movie came out, there is at least like 7 that is me just going, oh, I love the sound effect they make so much. Because we got that trailer so
good
times. But anyway,
yep.
Yeah, like I haven't seen a lot of movies that have really challenged Cavill, like as an actor. He's still very much staying very safe in his bubble, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, he got the part he really wanted. He got The Witcher by doing so. So hey, you know,
right?
And I'd be curious to see what he could be as Superman with like a script that doesn't actively hate the character. Because even then, like, maybe feel like Justice League sucked ass, but Superman's probably still the best part.
Right.
Yeah. But
there are great Superman stories out there just waiting to be told.
And none of them have him as a goddamn Jesus metaphor. I do not know why they're obsessed with this. But
well, of course they are. Which is especially hilarious if you know the greater origins of Superman.
Oh yeah, I did a whole video about it. Go watch the Superman Smash the Clan video. I literally discuss
exactly
creation of Superman.
Right? Click that link. Check it out. Watch more of Michael's videos.
Please do. I get so many hate comments on that one.
All hail the Hypnotoad.
The racists there are so angry.
It's delicious.
Oh man, but no, I did like Cavill. I did like Cavill in this movie. I think it hit his niche well enough. Anything else? Because I feel like I've said everything I've wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
All right, cool. So yeah, Enola Holmes. Final thoughts?
Is there anything coming out soon? Like, we don't have trailers to talk about anymore.
I know. Well, I'm watching Robin's Wish tonight, so I can review with Sarah tomorrow. Robin's Wish is the Robin Williams documentary, for those who don't know.
Ooh, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, apparently it kind of goes over like how he died, and Sarah messaged me yesterday and said like I cried so hard.
Oh boy, yeah.
So tonight's fun.
Nice. What service is that on?
I think you can rent it on Amazon for like $5.
Not bad. All right. Cool.
Antebellum is out. That is something me, Ron, and possibly Muhar are going to tackle over the weekend. And then everything else, we're playing it by ear for the rest of it. Really, it boils down to...
I get that, right?
Yeah, like right now, basically, I'm not saying no to anything. Anyone in the comments go, hey, can you watch this? This came out this year? Sure. Grant texts me like, you want to watch this? Yeah, sure. Text me like 11 p.m. You want to watch the movie? Fuck it, sure.
You get like 30 seconds and you're like, wait, Muha, this is just cats again. No!
I'd probably be so tired and like just done with life. I'm like, yeah, sure. I've watched it twice.
Yes. It's just the video of cats with the audio of cars.
Just has like replace like the big dramatic scene with like the girl kind of saying memories with just Mater going, get her done.
Chigga. All right. On that note, yeah. So final thoughts on Enola Holmes. I liked it. I'm glad that I got to sit down and watch it and hang out with you for a bit
Yeah.
digitally.
Good to see you again, man.
And you.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody watching this is staying safe and getting the help they need, because, man, this year has not been easy for anybody.
Nope, not even a little. So, yep. Stay safe out there, guys. I personally really like this movie. I think it is a fun bit of escapism with just enough reality in there without being depressing. So, I recommend it. Go check it out. You and I need to talk about getting the DC stuff back up. But
Oh, man, yeah. I watched Superman versus the Elite this afternoon. That was cool.
that's one of my favorites. So we'll talk about that. That might something we put back on Patreon and get stuff moving back on there. So keep an eye on that. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. It really depends on our schedules. In the meantime, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Sounds good.